Hello, and welcome to the 360 podcast. I'm Dr. Darrius Gena, along with my co-host, Dr. Gena Crawford. The 360 podcast, where we have real conversations about business, leadership, and growth. And we try to break down the strategies that help leaders move with clarity from stuck to strategic. So today, interesting topic. We're going to be talking about something that every entrepreneur, leader, business leader, small business owner, and executive hears about all the time, and that's networking. We've been told that we got to get in these rooms and meet people, but we got to be real about this thing. Just showing up, just making LinkedIn connections and just collecting business cards, that's not enough. That's not enough, because we got to understand that networking at its core, it's not about making a quick sale or pushing your service or your product on somebody. That's not what it's about. Networking is about building genuine relationships. It's about showing up in rooms where conversations actually turn into connections, and then those connections turn into opportunities. So we have to have the mindset that when we go into a place to network, that it's about looking for opportunities to serve and to add value to somebody else before we can expect anything else in return. So if we be honest, most of us who network, if we be honest, most of us are uncomfortable with networking. And we're uncomfortable with it because we see networking as a sales opportunity. We see networking opportunities as sales opportunities. And again, being honest with that, a lot of people are horrible at sales. Now that's going to be another topic for another day. But what happens is, for the most part, most people show up into kind of what I say are two different categories. Now there are more than these two categories, but these seem to be the main two. So that first category is one that I call the pusher. This is the person, they may just be starting out, or their business might actually be kind of flailing. They need to make this sale. This person comes to a networking opportunity with the wrong perspective. They come in, they're looking to try to make a sale instead of building a genuine relationship. And I think many people who've been in a networking event, they've been in this position where this person is around them, and that person they just kind of stink with the desperation of trying to make a sale all over them. They're pushy, they're almost intrusive, and ultimately that person leaves disappointed because they didn't make the sale that they were trying to make, but they were trying to push a high value service or high value product on somebody that barely knows them. And I've had those people talk to me, and inside my head, I'm like, I'm not paying that much to you. I don't even know you like that. So we have to have that mindset too, especially when your service, your product, it comes with a premium price. They got to get to know me before they open that checkbook and spend that amount. Now that second category that people fall into is the one called the wallflower. This is where most of us introverts we fall into this. We avoid engagement because genuine relationships, they require small talk, before they develop. And let's be real, if you're an introvert like me, and I think like Dr. Crawford, small talk feels pointless to me. It's almost it comes off as fake and disingenuous. Like, well, how about the weather? Or how you doing today? That's uncomfortable, and it's awkward.
Yes.
And that's a big drain on your social battery. But here's the truth. To get to the meaningful, genuine conversations and connections, you have to be willing to go through the small talk first. And without that, you never get the real relationship. So many times these folks, the wallflower, they also leave networking opportunities without success and disappointed. It's a waste of my time. So when we shift networking from being a numbers game, like the salesperson sees it, the salesperson sees it as I have to make X amount of contacts to make X amount of sales. When we switch from that sales pitch mindset and understand that this is about having genuine relationships, then everything changes. That's where trust and referrals and collaborations and long-term opportunities begin to be birthed out. And for the wallflower, the introvert, here's the key. Here's the thing: you don't try to work the whole room. You don't have to work the whole room. Just start with one person.
Mm-hmm.
Set a goal to have one or maybe two meaningful conversations instead of trying to have 10 shallow ones. And ask simple questions. We have to learn how to ask questions. Listen more than you talk, because we tend to think we got to do all the talking. No, listen more than you talk, and give yourself permission to leave once you've made that one real meaningful connection. Because over time, those small wins they begin to build confidence, and then networking stops feeling like a performance to the wallflower, to the introvert, and it starts becoming natural. So, Dr. Crawford, in learning how to network, and I'll be honest, as I've been saying before, I was the wallflower. I'd show up, I'd get the business cards, and I would leave disappointed, saying that's a waste of my time.
Mm-hmm.
But I had to learn that it was more than just having the small talk. It was more than having the small talk that felt awkward and uncomfortable. I had to learn that because we want meaningful conversations. So I had to learn that in order to have the meaningful conversations, I had to begin asking meaningful questions to make meaningful, genuine connections. But I had to
Yeah.
do it with a small group of people, only a few people, and then give myself permission to leave when my social battery ran low. Instead of trying to meet 50 people, meet two people and get out the way. So I think me, along with a lot of other people, kind of fall into that category where certain social fears and anxieties can overshadow us and make us feel ineffective in these type of spaces. So with that in mind, what do you think, Dr. Crawford, about some of those fears and those anxieties that hinder people from being effective in these spaces?
Hey y'all. My sentiments exactly of everything that you're saying. I've been that wallflower for so many years where, you leave disappointed. You start off with this burst of energy, you're gonna go and you're gonna leave with this $1 million contract and everybody's gonna love you and this and the other. And then you walk into this place where the room is packed and everybody's thinking the exact same thing that you're thinking, that they're going to go and they're going to meet. And then you have, like you say, those people who are the pusher where, you kind of, it may cause the wildflower to shrink back even more. Because now instead of having the mindset that I'm here to connect or here to have conversation, you're focusing on the pushers. And so now you start, comparing yourself. Well, man, I don't have it like they have it. And you just assume that they are the people that are going to dominate the room. And so because you think that they're going to dominate the room, sometimes it's just like, well, I'll just try it next time. Let me go get another something off the charcuterie board and just walk on out the door. And so literally, and thinking about networking, when we first talked about having or sharing this topic on today, that question popped into my mind. How are you working your net? And so it's literally that's the first question that even now have to ask myself, how are you working the net? Sometimes we will go based off of what other people are doing. We'll go based off of what we see. And you'll see people who are wallflowers try to turn themselves into pushers. And it's an epic fail because now we're not being, it's an epic fail because now it's like, you don't know it's not your authentic self. And so when you're talking about networking, you have to understand the concept. It is a net. You're going to get something. You're going to capture something. And so it's almost like a fisherman. It's a fisherman. If you ever see those fishermen out there, was it they call it deep sea fishing or
Yeah, deep
whatever
sea
they're doing?
fishing.
And so they have to even have the right gear. You can't just walk out there in some shorts and some little flip flops and say, "I'm going deep sea fishing." When you think about it, when I watch these shows on National Geographic or whatever, they have it's a strategy to it. They have these large nets where they have these machines and they're reeling stuff. And so you literally have to just prepare your mindset, first of all. Hey, I'm going to people. I'm going to talk to people. And this is something that you've helped me with on a personal level. That 5 second rule, where not the rule that you pick up stuff off the floor and eat it after it drops for 5 seconds. Not that 5 seconds. But the 5 second rule where, it's like, hey, make a decision, give yourself 5 seconds and go with it. And so I've been really living off of that, because if not, you will dip as a wallflower, you will talk yourself out of it. You will talk yourself out of going to the event, to even network. What I found helpful too is not going by yourself. Not going by yourself.
Yeah, that could be helpful.
Find somebody who's gonna now. I think you and I have done well though. When we have gone out together, I think we've done a good job. But try to find somebody that's not going to be so overly pushy that they're going to overshadow what you're trying to do. But find somebody who creates a good balance for you.
That's a great idea. That is important. Somebody who can help keep you accountable, but who kind of also understands that social anxiety that you have. Who can encourage and motivate, but not discourage at the same rate by trying to push you too far out of your comfort zone. Who you can bounce ideas off, and you can also just kind of tag team. One person is asking a question, the other person is listening, and you just kind of feed off of each other, because as it don't take long for that social battery to start to drain. And when one stops, the other starts, and you kind of recharge each other. But I think too, one thing that you have to have a mindset of when you're going into a networking event is understanding the type of people that you are trying to reach.
Yeah.
You got to know who your target market is. If I'm looking to work with people in the financial services industries, I'm looking for bankers, financial advisors, stockbrokers, or whatever. I don't need to burn out my battery trying to talk to real estate agents. There's nothing against the real estate agents, but if I know that this is my niche, my segment, the people I need to be talking to, that's where I need to focus my attention. And I need to have some questions developed to get this conversation going, more than, well, how's the weather and how's the family and all of those things. Those things are important, and you can get to those things. But as the wallflower, that's going to drain you pretty quickly. And the pusher is not really going to ask those questions. They're going to solely talk about what they have to offer and all of those things. So I think some genuine ways of trying to build this relationship is, so tell me about what you do.
Yeah.
And they begin to talk about what they do. Well, how long have you been doing that? They talk about how long they've been doing. What interests you about that? What led you into that field? You're building a connection. You're building a relationship, and you're not having to do all the talking. Because again, now as they answer those questions are coming right back to you. So you kind of already know what you're about to be asked. So you can kind of have your mindset ready to answer those questions. It's low pressure. It helps you to get past that awkwardness, and before you know it, the conversation begins to grow more organic, and now you're more at ease. So that's one of the things that's very important, to ask meaningful questions and be an active listener, because as you listen, key things will pop out of what they say that can kind of help you guide and lead the conversation into another direction. But don't just come in saying, I have this, I want to sell you this, and people don't want that. People do not want that. So, because here's another thing. Here's what we have to understand about building the relationship. It's one thing that I always tell nonprofit leaders, because nonprofit leaders understand that fundraising is the lifeblood of every nonprofit. It funds everything. The one thing that you tell nonprofit executives, that people give to people, not causes. A lot of people care about cancer, but people don't give to cancer research. But if somebody who they knew and had a relationship with said, hey, I want you to donate to this, okay, I'll donate. Never thought about donating before, but I'm donating because you asked. People give to people, not causes. So when it comes to people giving you referrals, they don't necessarily give a referral to the person who may necessarily be best at the job. They give it to the person they have a better relationship with. Why? Because I have a relationship with this person, I know this person has a relationship with me. I know this person is going to try to do their best when I refer them because it's a value to our relationship. If you just toss a referral to somebody and you barely know this person, they don't care nothing about you. The relationship is not there, and they'll mistreat the person that you sent them, and now you're burned on both sides. That's the
Hmm.
importance of building an authentic relationship.
And you made me think of the fact that a lot of people don't know how to have relationships, period. And so,
Yes.
especially now that we're living in this society where, we're conditioned to just think about ourselves. We're conditioned to just think about, how's this going to benefit me? And so, even down to the level of communication, we don't necessarily have to talk to people anymore if we don't want to. We don't necessarily have to think of ideas if we don't want to. And so, even kind of taking a step back sometimes and taking a look at, especially with business owners and ministry leaders, how good at you are, how good are you at relationships, period. And sometimes it could be where I don't know how to be relatable. I don't know how to be, so case in point, if you're thinking about, and this is interesting because I think we talked about this a little bit last week, how, now this age group, we're all on Facebook, right? Uh,
Right.
to my understanding, Facebook may be a little antiquated for that younger generation. Now you have IG and you have, I just got on Threads this week. I was like, Threads. What are we sewing together? Okay, what is this? And so now it's you almost have to learn how to be social, and you have to learn how to be relatable, and you have to learn how to be the person to have those relationships. Which again, if you're trying to network, you have to go back to that question. It's like, how am I working my net? Am I trying to do it by myself? Am I trying to do all of the so if you're a person who's that perfectionist, or that person where you have to be in control of everything, you're literally trying to do all the heavy lifting yourself.
Right.
And so you may be the person where, considering the fact of, you may not be the person to go as the business owner or as the ministry leader. You may have to delegate other people to go. Say that there is, you have a speaking engagement, or you have a business meeting, and you have to be at this meeting. However, there's an opportunity to do some networking somewhere else. You can't be in two places at one time. And
Right.
so, even teaching the people that you work with how to network, to tap into the vision. Because I mean, I'm reminded of this, I think it was this episode of A Different World, where Whitley was supposed to do one thing for the company. One thing. Go in there, go to the auction and do this. And she went and did something totally different because she said she did it based off of, well, I thought. And so, all of this is inclusive of this networking piece, because sometimes we think networking is just left up to the business owner or the ministry leader or just that one individual. But we even have to now teach people how to network on our behalf.
That's right. That's a good point. Um, because I think what a lot of people get lost in understanding too is that networking is not, because we're talking about it. It's about building relationships. So
Hmm.
you may be the face of the organization, but you may not necessarily have to be the one to do the networking.
Yes.
Because again, if you send someone to network on your behalf, as you mentioned, and they make some genuine connections, guess what they're going to do? They're going to connect those people to you anyway.
Hmm.
They're networking on your behalf. So eventually your paths are going to have to cross. And so I think what ends up happening a lot of times is that when people fail to see it as a relationship, an authentic relationship, they fail to see all the other aspects of things that come from having an authentic relationship. because when you start talking about people who fall into the pusher category, they can
Mhm.
get kind of territorial. They can become
Yes.
kind of have that greedy mindset of not wanting to share. Well, part of networking is being a connector. I met this person who does this thing. There, I don't need it, but I met another person who does this thing, and I don't know whether they need it or not, but it's something that would benefit them. Well, let me connect these two people together. Hey, this is this person. They do
Mhm.
interior designing, or you're a contractor. You know, let me introduce y'all. Let y'all talk. Let
Mhm.
y'all find out if there's an opportunity for y'all to work together and collaborate. But I saw something there, and if not, if anything, maybe I just brought two friends together. But guess what's going to
Yes.
happen from that? The next time they come across somebody who needs something that I do, let me introduce you to this person. You've just gotten a referral
Mhm.
because you become a people connector. And so and and again, when we're talking about genuine building genuine relationships, one of the things that I've learned is that once you go to these networking events and you meet your one or two people, or if you're the outgoing person and you can meet 5 to 10 people or whatever, and you get their contact information, it is important in this day and age for you to have some type of contact list, mailing
Yeah.
list, or whatever, MailChimp or whatever, where you put this information in and you keep detailed records. I met this person on this date at this networking event. They talked about X, Y, and Z. But send them a quick email. It was a pleasure meeting you, blah, blah, blah. And for the people that you really want to get to know, if you're ever available, let's meet for coffee next week. And now, and again, this is not a time for you to make a sale. This is
Right.
a time for you to sit down at a Starbucks or whatever and have more genuine conversations and
Conversation.
let the relationship grow authentically and then take it from there. I learned that because it was done to me. Somebody followed up and said, "Hey, let's go have coffee." I'm the introvert, but I'm like, okay, yeah, well, let's do this. But I saw how valuable that was, and I was like, huh, that's a good move there.
Yeah.
And still not a sales opportunity. It's an opportunity to get to know you outside of all of the noise and the big event,
Yes.
crowd surrounded by hundreds of other people. And now it's just one on one, and you can just talk. You're not talking shop again. Now, bits and pieces may flow in, but this is an opportunity to develop the relationship in a deeper context and then see where it goes.
Mhm. Mhm. And you just never know. Even when you're out, it's kind of like always be prepared. Not to say that you're always on, but to be prepared. I think I shared with you where Robert and I had gone to breakfast one day, and I'm scoping out everything everywhere I go. I'm scoping, I'm looking, and so there was one gentleman at the counter eating his breakfast. And then he had his laptop open. There, another gentleman walked in. And so he was sitting at the counter and he opened up his laptop. And so after a while, I'm looking around. I'm like, okay, what is this? What is this about to happen? And so they just I didn't even know who sparked the conversation, but literally, I don't know if they were talking about the breakfast or talking about how often do you come here or have you come here? So it wasn't like a pickup line, but it was literally like,
Yeah.
they started talking. And then the next thing it was, oh, well, let me give you my information. And I was like, yeah, that's it. It wasn't, the intent to come to this place to network. It was literally, I'm coming, I'm sitting down, I'm getting something to eat, I'm working. So even in that vein, you never know who's watching you.
Yes, that's so true. Because networking is not just confined to a networking event. It can
Mm-mm.
happen anywhere. You just striking up a conversation. Hey, how are you doing today? Just
Mhm.
striking up a conversation, stepping out of our comfort zone, and understanding it's not about trying to make the sale. It's not about trying to monopolize the conversation, but it's about genuinely trying to connect with people. And when we do that, all types of opportunities, all types of doors will open for us. But we have to look at it from the mindset that it is a long game.
Yeah.
Fruit may not bear for years, months, or years, or if ever. And if anything, you just may wind up with a new friend And one day you sit back talking like, how do we meet again? And and that's how you pick up those friends. Yeah.
Let me ask you a question. So, what does this look like relative to ministry?
I think we may have lost Dr. Crawford there.
Oh,
Um, oh, I got you now. There you go.
this look like ministry? Like, I think sometimes we do a good job of working like in that with that mindset of business. But now, ministry is like there's so many opportunities, so many things, itself to things that we need in ministry. How do we do that? Because so oftentimes we'll stick to our circle. We'll just kind of.
Yeah, I think we lost Dr. Crawford again. I think with ministry, the approach can be the same, even though the outcome is kind of different. Uh, because with ministry as ministry leaders, of course, we have to try to network with each other. Ministry leaders want to try to network with other ministry leaders so that you can collaborate on different things. And I invite you to come and minister for me, and you invite me to come minister for you if those opportunities present themselves. But also, just in the context of we're talking about ministry leaders. Sometimes we have to collaborate one with another as ministry leaders.
Mhm.
The approach is kind of the same. The outcome of what we're looking for may be kind of different. um, but I think one of the biggest things in ministry that we fail to do is to properly, I would say, evangelize, because we
Mm.
look at it as we got to go stand on the street corner and preach, and that's not
Mhm.
necessarily what we need to do. It's still in the coffee shop, in the grocery store, in our everyday regular spaces, sparking up those conversations, building genuine connections and contacts, and in the process, introducing Christ.
So you mean I don't have to dress up in a three-piece suit with a big
Yeah,
cross? And I mean that if that's y'all thing, that's your thing. So you mean I don't have to walk around in a robe with a big cross around my neck to say,
yeah,
"Hey,
we ain't got to do all
I'm your Jesus God. Come talk to me."
that. And sometimes, and like I say, the approach is kind of different. But you talked about going fishing. Well, one way I used to do that when I first planted the church and started, because I would go to Starbucks all the time, and so I started doing my Bible study in there, and I just go in there and open my Bible and start reading, and people would approach me. They would have questions, and that's an opportunity to introduce Christ. But then you also had those who wanted to try to debate and push against.
Yeah,
But that
that,
was an opportunity to
yeah,
be an apologist for it. So yeah, so you take the opportunities that are given to you. But just in passing, networking is the same. Spark up a conversation, build a genuine connection, and take the opportunity that the Holy Spirit provides to introduce Christ into their life. Not forceful or pushful. You're
yeah.
still not the pusher. You still
I
don't
think
want
you
to be the
said
pusher.
something that that word keeps popping up, genuine.
Yes, yes. Must be genuine, authentic. Yes, that's key. That's key. Because only so long that you can pretend.
Yeah. Whew. And it wears you out.
Yes.
And then, sometimes people can pick up on it. We don't think people can, but people can tell when you're authentic and genuine and, when you're just kind of like, when you're trying to make a sale. And when you really are genuinely trying to make a connection with the person, people can tell the difference. And so, think about how they do, was it in the kiosk at the malls, hey, sometimes you start off with a question or, sometimes it's you find those people who are overly pushy and you're like, no, I don't want it.
Yes.
But then
Because
you find those people who will, they'll ask you a question, you'll go, hmm, my skin is a little rough. And so it reels you in.
yeah. Because my thought process has always been, I don't need you to sell me anything. You know, most people know what they want and what they need, and they
Yeah.
know where to go to get it. So there's nothing really that you're gonna show me something that and oh no. So you have to find out what their problem is. They have to see the
Mhm.
need for what you're doing. So first, you got to find out what their problem is before you just try to sell them something, because you may be trying to sell them something and they're like, yeah, I don't need that. And so yeah, it's a good idea, it's a good product, but I don't need it.
Right.
And if you had a shown it, if you had a approached it from a different perspective, you probably could have made that sale because
Mhm.
you found out what they needed, and then you were able to highlight how your product or how your service addressed that need. So that's key. That's why it's important to build a relationship first and ask the questions, ask good questions. And I gave an example of, well, what do you do? But that's a take those questions and craft them to go deeper.
Yeah.
To make it more meaningful. So something like, what do you instead of what do you do? What problem are you passionately trying to solve? That's a different framework of how to say that question, but it makes people think, and they start sharing more.
Mhm.
So now you start to hear the passion, you start to hear the different pain points that they have of the struggle that they have. And as you're actively listening, now you're picking up on what excites them, what frustrates them, and you're highlighting that into what you do and how you can solve those problems. And now you have an end. So take the soft questions and drill them and make them deeper, if that makes sense to everybody.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and even taking a deep dive into, and this is something that we may do ourselves, to take a deep dive into what active listening looks like. What is active listening?
Yes, yes,
What are the right questions to ask? So, I would tell our audience, stay tuned, because hey,
yes.
you
That's
you
gonna be
you
something we talk about.
gonna be, yep, you gonna need it.
so,
You
so
gonna
here's
need
the challenge to you all. At your next event, don't focus on how many people you meet. Focus on how many people you genuinely really connect with. Okay, one genuine relationship is way more valuable than 20 cold contacts. So, and if you want to keep growing with us, make sure you subscribe to the 360 podcast on all our platforms and check out our YouTube page. The link is in the chat where you can watch all of our episodes. We thank you all for hanging out with us this morning on the 360. Join us again. We look forward to talking all things business and helping you get from stuck to unstuck, stuck to strategic. We'll see you all next time. Have a great day.